Thank you, Dave. As Dave just said, my name is Katie Salduti. I am the outreach librarian at the Talking Book and Braille Library. So what I'm going to talk about today is using the Talking Book and Braille Library, the Wisconsin Talking Book and Braille Library, as well as the services we provide, and hopefully getting people familiar with it and excited about using it. So what is the Wisconsin Talking Book and Braille Library? It's a free audio and Braille library for anyone who cannot read standard print or has a disability that makes it hard for them to handle a physical book. So we are located in Milwaukee, but we serve the whole state of Wisconsin. So you don't have to be in Milwaukee, you can be anywhere in Wisconsin. We do only serve people in Wisconsin, but if you know someone out of state who needs to get talking books, we are part of the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, and there is a talking book and Braille library in every state. So the NLS is located in Washington, D.C. It was founded as part of Congress in 1931, and as I mentioned, that is our I guess, oversight organization that we're part of. So who can use the library? The library is open for any Wisconsin residents who have vision impairments, are blind, are physically disabled, or have a reading disability that prevents them from reading standard print material. So the physical disability would be something like MS, cerebral palsy, Parkinson's, anything that makes it difficult to handle a physical book. The reading disability at the moment has to be certified by a doctor, which, sorry, I skipped ahead there. All of the applications when you're getting signed up have to be signed off by a professional verifying that you have a qualifying disability. This is defined as a competent authority by the NLS. The range of competent authorities for vision impairment, blindness, and physical disability is very broad. It includes teachers, professional hospital staff, social workers, caseworkers, counselors, of course, doctors and nurses also, but even librarians can sign off for the visual impairment and the physical disability. The reading disability at the moment has to be signed off by a doctor. This is in the process of being changed, but it hasn't changed yet. So if you know people who could use our service and because of a reading disability, keep in mind that at the moment, a medical doctor has to sign off on their application. We're excited that's changing, but it's taking some time to get moved forward. So, as I mentioned before, how do you get started? We have the application. So what I have here is the first page of the application. If you need a copy of the application, we have a couple different ways you can get a copy. We have it online on our website at dpi.wi.gov/talkingbooks. We are also more than happy to send you a paper copy. You can give us a call at 414-286-3045 or at our 800 number, which is 1-800-242-8822. We would be more than happy to send you a copy if you don't have a printer. However, you can now complete the whole application online. This is a big change for us. We did not accept electronic signatures before, but currently The NLS just told us that we can now accept electronic signatures of the competent authority on the second page, so you can complete the application online. Make sure all of on the second page, all the information is filled out. So if you have a doctor who is completing your competent authority on the second page, make sure they put all their information, like phone number, where they work, if you're doing an electronic signature, because that's key when we're accepting it. Now, if you're going to send in a paper copy and have it signed on the second page, you can either scan, and email that back to us at the WTBBL at Milwaukee.gov email. You can mail it back to us at the 813 West Wells Street address, or you can fax it to us at 414-286-3102. What I have pictured here is just the first page, which has the basic contact information on it that a person would fill out. It has your name, address, qualifying impairment, either visual, physical, or reading disability, and some other just general information to get you started. Now, I did not put a picture of the second page because it has just the list of competent authorities and then the area to sign. So this is the third page of the application. As you can see here on this third page, this is what allows you to select some of your reading preferences for your account. You can change this. This is not going to be set up permanently. But what you're doing here is we have two ways that people can receive books. They can either have books automatically selected for them, or they can do request list only. So if you do auto select, what we're going to do is we'll set you up so that you always have a specific number of books at one time. Generally, we set people up for 6 books at one time, and then we would put in information about your reading preferences. So for example, if you're in school, we would put your grade level on here, let's say 7th grade, and then we would select which categories you prefer. So maybe adventure fiction, fantasy, and science fiction. And then the computer would select books from those categories at the 7th grade reading level. Some of the other things that we would want to put in here for kids would include exclusions. So we would want to put in exclusions for sex, violence, strong language, probably commercial and rated books. We've been getting a lot more commercial audio books, which I will talk about a little bit later. But a lot of our commercial books are not rated. So that would be something to consider when you're putting in some of these preferences. So that's if you do auto select. Auto select means the computer is going to pick the books out for you and send them automatically. It means that you can, it's basically a way to ensure that you're not going to run out of books because the computer is going to keep selecting them. Request list only means that the computer will only send you books that you request. So we will still set you up to have a certain number of books at one time, but if there's nothing on your request list, the computer is not going to send you anything. So when you return material, if you return all your books at once and there's nothing available to be sent out, it's possible you won't have any books. Now, when you do auto select, you can certainly still request books, and the ones that are on your request list would still be the computer's top choice to send out. It just means that if there's nothing on your request list, then they would go to your categories to send out material. So just two different ways to have it set up to have materials sent out to you. We have people do both ways, and usually people are pretty happy with both. The auto select preferences can sometimes send you a little bit of a random selection, but it is a good way to ensure that you'll always have material. So, and people, when we say we set them up for 6 at a time, that's not a hard and fast number. You can have as many or as few books as you like. You really just need to make sure that you check out at least one every year to stay active. So on the fourth and final page of the application, you select the materials you'd like, the equipment you'd like, and some accessories. So the materials, this is an important one because you're going to select if you want audio books and magazines or Braille books and magazines. Now, you can definitely do both. If you're going to do audio books and Braille books, we would set you up probably with the both with us here in Wisconsin and also with the Utah Talking Book and Braille Library. Utah has a significantly bigger Braille collection, physical Braille collection compared to the collection we have here. So when you're ordering physical Braille books, most of the time you would be ordering them from the Utah Library. They do the same thing we do as far as shipping them out and sending them via free matter for the blind and physically handicapped. So it's not anything different from the audiobooks you would get. You just order them from Utah, not from Wisconsin. So you can select either your preferred format. You can also select the equipment you would like to have. Now this is mainly if you're going to download material or if you want material sent to you. So if you're going to download material, you can still get a player sent to you, but you don't have to. You can download your own audio and Braille material and have it on a personal device, like a smartphone or a tablet or something like that. Or you can download it to a flash drive or blank cartridge and then play it on the player. And that is completely up to you. Some people prefer to download material and then play it on the player. Other people prefer to use a personal device. And then of course there are people who are not interested in downloading material and just want material sent to them. It does not really matter which one you do. It's up to you which you would like to do. Now, as far as downloading Braille, at the moment, we are not yet able to provide e-Braille readers to our patrons, but we will be able to very soon. So the NLS is currently piloting an e-Braille reader that we will be able to provide patrons with, which I'll talk about a little bit more, but then if they're Braille readers, we'll fortunately soon be able to provide a Braille reader so people can download from BARD and not have to have a personal device to download and read Braille books on. So that's big news, but at the moment, you do have to have your own e-Braille readers to download Braille books. So in addition to selecting the type of material you want and the equipment, on this fourth page, there is also information about music material and accessories you can get for the talking book player. So one of the accessories you can get is a USB flash drive plug that if you're gonna make your own cartridges and purchase blank cartridges and then download material from BARD, you would plug into your computer to be able to convert not convert, but plug the cartridge into the computer to download material. So we can provide that if you would like to do that. We do also send out headphones, and we have a high volume player for people with profound hearing loss, but that does need to be certified by an audiologist if you're gonna get that, because it can damage your hearing otherwise. So the music material on here is a collection that is available from the NLS, directly from the NLS in DC. It is kind of underutilized collection because a lot of patrons aren't aware of it, but it is a collection that includes large print and Braille music scores, recorded music material, music about musicians, and about music. It is not listening music, it's more like music study. But if we have patrons interested in it, we can get you signed up to receive the material directly from the NLS. So you would contact them if you're interested. It has a lot of really good material. And you would get signed up and they would send you material directly from DC. And so their contact information is listed here on this slide, and I can certainly provide it for anyone who's interested in getting it. But it is all directly from the NLS. We don't house it here in Wisconsin, so. Okay, so a little bit more about how you order books. That's a question we get all the time when people first get signed up, because we don't have a comprehensive catalog, like a print catalog that we can send to people. We have too many books for that. Our audio collection has over 100,000 books in it. So if you want to see or browse some of the books that we have available, we do have an online catalog that people can log into once you get signed up to search for some of the books. The address for the catalog is WTBBL.kls.com. To log in, you will need to get your username and password from us. It is not sent out automatically. You have to request it. We can't send it with the welcome packet because of regulations with free matter for the blind and personal information and the material being open. But we are more than happy to give you your login information so you can search books. And once you get your login information, you can order things through the web and see some of the huge collection that we have because it's a lot of material. You can also just call us and ask. We are more than happy to look up books for you. We can do author searches, we can do title searches, subject, anything that you're looking for. We'll probably be able to find. The other way that people often order books is just by sending in the order form from the Talking Book Topics or Braille Book Review. The Talking Book Topics comes directly from the NLS, and it is a bi-monthly catalog that has the most recent 2 months of audiobooks that we have gotten. It only has a very small selection of what we have, just the newest ones that we've gotten. You can use it at any time. You don't have to order from the newest one because obviously once we have the books, we're not, we're gonna keep them and we will have them forever. But there's an order form in the back of each of the catalogs, which you can send in. It has the number with each of the books. You can also call us and tell us the numbers or titles or authors to order the books from that too. So as I mentioned before, the NLS collection of audiobooks has over 100,000 books. It literally grows daily. They are adding books to the collection constantly. In fact, I just looked at our catalog today and I saw we got the new Obama book, which is amazing turnaround. That book was literally published 3 days ago and we already got it. So that is because the NLS is now contracting with commercial audio producers to get books faster. And that has significantly improved how quickly we can get books out to the patrons and to be in bestsellers like the Obama book. It's also greatly improved our collection because then we don't have to have all the books, we don't have to wait for 6 months to get the newest audiobooks. The only thing to keep in mind with some of the commercial books is a lot of them are not rated, which I mentioned before. So you can get a bestseller and it can say, you know, it won't have any of the exclusions for like sex or violence or anything because it's a not rated book. It doesn't mean that it necessarily should be rated. That's just something to keep in mind, especially with kids. So that exclusion is one that kind of is something parents should keep in mind when they're looking at books. So in addition to getting the commercial audiobooks, the NLS does produce in-house books also, as do many of the states. Here in Wisconsin, we produce books of local interest, mainly Wisconsin authors or Wisconsin interest books. And we do that with the help of ABLE, which is Audio Braille Literacy Enhancement. They're an organization that we work really closely with here in Milwaukee. They are they work volunteer-based nonprofit, and they record and Braille a lot of our material for us for very small fees. So their mission is to provide accessible material for people with print disabilities. So that's something to keep in mind if you're ever looking for an organization that could provide accessible like student assignments. We also recommend them to people who are looking to get a book recorded for some personal use if it's not something that would get picked up by the Wisconsin Talking Book and Braille Library or the NLS. Like if it's something kind of esoteric or a very specific interest, they generally will record it for the cost of the book. And then of course you would have it available to do with as you wish. But they're definitely a great organization to keep in mind if you need material like that to work with. So in addition to the books that I just mentioned, the audio material, the NLS players are compatible with most of the DAISY files. They'll play. They will not play the text-to-speech ones, of course, because they're not set up for text-to-speech material. We do also have magazines, though. Magazines are available in audio and Braille, depending on which magazine it is, and we can set you up for a subscription via cartridge, or you can set up a subscription on Bard. The subscription on Bard would be automatically added to your wish list as each new magazine volume came out, and then you would just download it to your player or cartridge as you wanted to read it. If you sign up for one on a cartridge, those usually get added. They'll have a couple issues depending on if it's a weekly or a monthly. They'll have a couple issues on a cartridge and they'll be sent out and checked out to you for 7 weeks if it's a weekly, or it's 2 months or if it's a monthly. So they'll be sent out to you like regular cartridges and books. If you are interested in a list of the available audio and Braille magazines, it generally is included in the welcome packet, and it is available on Bard also. We do also have a small collection of audio described DVDs. The audio described DVDs we send out for, I believe it's a month they're checked out. You can only check out 3 at a time. That one does have a limit on it. And they are primarily newer titles, mostly because the audio description did not get added to a lot of older movies. So it's a fairly new phenomena for things getting added. You do have to have your own DVD player. they don't play on the talking book machines or anything like that. So, and the audio descriptions are similar to closed caption, except they are the verbal description of quiet scenes. So, for example, for a mystery or a scene that would be dark where you would see a body in an alley, you would have a voice telling you, oh, you know, there's a body in an alley, so that you know what's going on in the movie without the dialogue there. So those do actually tend to be fairly popular with people. Okay, so this diagram is a picture of our basic player. As you can see, it kind of looks like a cassette player. It has the slot in the front where the cartridge would go in. The cartridge is about the size of a cassette, but it actually is a flash drive. We have the standard buttons at the bottom with the play, stop, rewind forward, volume up, volume down, as well as the tone up, tone down. So some of the things to keep in mind with the player, each of the buttons will tell you what they do. When you press the power button, you press it once, it turns on, tells you it's on. You press it a second time, it will tell you how long the battery charge is remaining. Ideally, the player will hold 29 hours of charge. Generally, if they get under 10 hours of battery charge, we tell people to give us a call so we can replace them. The batteries do get worn out. Not really anything anyone does, it just happens. The players are pretty hardy. They tend to hold up pretty well through wear and tear, so that's not something that people should really be concerned about. But if you have any issues with them, we are more than happy to replace them with a new player that's working, because they do have to get updated fairly regularly. So in addition to each of the buttons telling you what they do, a lot of them will do more than just the basic function that is the first thing it seems to do. For example, the play stop button, if you hold it down for 10 seconds, it will go into the bookshelf function. So if you have a cartridge with more than one book on it and you hold it down and go into the bookshelf function, it will read you the books on the cartridge as you move forward and backwards with the forward and rewind button. So you have a little bit more functionality than just what the basic buttons appear to do. And in addition to that, you can see there's the USB port and the headphone port on the side too. There is a cord in the back too, which is not pictured. The players, in addition to playing on the battery, will play on a cord in electricity. Although even if you're playing on electricity, sometimes they do get a little wonky after. We've had people who have them for 10 years and then after that they start turning themselves on. So at some point, basically they do need to have maintenance. So that's something to keep in mind if you've had a player for a long time and it needs to be replaced. So the next one here is the advanced player. The advanced player has all the same buttons as the basic player, with the addition of some, I guess, navigation features would be the best way to explain them. The buttons that are added to the advanced player are the menu buttons, the next element, and bookmark and information. So the menu button is the button that you would use to navigate different levels in the book. And by levels, I mean for example, jumping from phrase, chapter, part. When you press the menu button, it moves to different markers. So if you press menu once, you're on the phrase level. And then if you press it again, you would primarily jump up to the chapter level. So let's say you stay at the chapter level and then press next element, you would move from chapter 1 to chapter 2. And this makes the book more navigationable. Not all books have these navigation markers. So sometimes if you put a book in and you press the menu button, it will jump you from the forward to the end of the book. This really just depends on how the book is set up. But a lot of them do, especially newer books and books that NLS created, they keep the markers in them. So another thing you can do to help make the book more easier to navigate is put your own bookmarks in it. You can do that with the bookmark button if you find a part that you really enjoy and want to go back to, like a good quote. You can use the bookmark button to do that and then navigate with the next element or previous element buttons. So that's something to keep in mind if you want to be able to do that. You probably want to get the advanced player. So another thing I kind of skipped over before was the tone and speed. Those are fairly straightforward. You can change how quickly the reader is talking, make it quicker or slower, and then of course the tone of voice. If they have a very low or high voice, you can adjust that to your reading preference. Okay, so I kind of alluded to some of this earlier, but when books are checked out, they are checked out for 2 months, and they can be renewed one more time for a total of 4 months. This is not something that is very hard and fast, especially right now when we are having to quarantine material when it's returned. There aren't any overdue fees or like fines for lost books or anything like that. We do sometimes send out overdue letters, but it's more to keep track of our own inventory. So keep in mind that how long the material is checked out, and you know, try and give us a heads up if you had it for more than 2 months and we're going to renew it. But it is not something to be excessively worried about if you've had it for longer than the allotted 2 months. Magazines are checked out for 3 weeks, monthly ones for 7 weeks, and the DVDs for a month. Those ones are a little less flexible, mainly because they don't come directly from us. So if you have a magazine and it doesn't get returned, it can stop your subscription. So those ones, it's better to return promptly when you're done with them. Same with the DVDs. If you have too many on your account, we can't send you more. So if you want more, you got to return the ones that you have. The books, we can always, you know, send you a couple more. And the machines, at the moment, people can only have one machine. We used to have a little more flexibility with that and having people have 2, but we are very short on machines right now, so we can only do 1. And those are, of course, kept for the duration of the service or until we need to do some work on them, and then we'll send you a new one to replace it, and you can send back the one that's not working. We do refurbish them if they're not working. We get the batteries up in working order and update the software and everything on them. Now, as far as sending material back and forth, that is all sent through the U.S. Postal Service at no cost to the patron. All of our material comes with a little card on it that has the patron's address on one side and then our address on the other side. So when you're returning material, just turn the card over. If you ever lose a case or don't have the box that the player was sent in, we are more than happy to send that back out. So basically, we don't pay to return material to us. We can get you a new box or a new case to send it back. as far as order forms, you can also send those back via Free Matter for the Blind or Physically Handicapped. That just needs to be written in place of the stamp, and the envelope needs to be unsealed. So those are, and just make sure you don't send anything that's personal, because since it's an unsealed envelope, it is going through the mail. So, okay, so I mentioned this a little bit at the beginning. This is something we're really excited about, the Braille e-reader pilot program. So the NLS is currently piloting a Braille e-reader in a couple different states. We were not one of the states that got chosen, but we're still really excited about it. So the Braille e-reader is going to allow patrons to download and compactly carry multiple Braille books at once. So they are going to be able to download Braille books and then, of course, read them on the e-reader. It does have an internal memory to store the books. It will not be a note taker, but it will be able to read different Braille files. There's the BRF and the docs and HTML. So we're excited to be able to get these out to people. Hopefully after the 6-month pilot program is up, and you know, if everything goes well out, we'll be able to roll that out with getting that to our patrons who use Braille. So I've already talked about BARD a lot, but I didn't really go over what it is. BARD is the NLS's online database of audio and Braille material. So it stands for Braille Audio Reading Download. It is available to patrons only, and to get signed up, you have to make sure you're first a patron of your local cooperating library. So make sure if you're going to use BARD, you get an application in with us first. Even if you're not going to use a machine, you're just going to use your personal device, you do still need to fill out one of the applications I talked about at the beginning before you fill out the application for BARD. If you fill out the application for BARD first, we won't know who you are, so we won't know to approve it. So make sure you do get signed up with us first, basically. So BARD lets people get books right away. It's nice because there's tons of books on BARD. BARD often gets books faster than we do as far as the hard copies. There's a couple different ways you can go about using it. It does not play directly on computers, but it will play directly on smart devices. So on the computer, you can download books to a flash drive or to a blank cartridge for playback on the NLS player. You can either do this through the website, download it, convert the file, unzip it, put it on a flash drive, or there is also BARD Express, which makes navigating the steps a little bit simpler. It kind of condenses some of the downloading. And then there's also the mobile devices that I just mentioned, and I'll show a picture of what the mobile devices look like in a second, but those are available for iOS, Android, and through Amazon. Now, when I mention Amazon, you can get Alexa to play BARD books. It does have to be through another device though. So for example, you would still have to have your phone playing the book, and then you could ask Alexa to connect through Bluetooth to your phone. So I guess it doesn't do it independently. So that's a little caveat to keep in mind if you're gonna do that. It does play on Amazon tablets though, so there are those two. Okay, so right here I have a screenshot of what it looks like when you search for a series on BARD, and this is a cool feature that they just recently put up that makes it significantly easier to get some of the books added to your BARD account. So there are over 110,000 audiobooks, over 12,000 web Braille books on BARD. So it's a little bit overwhelming when you're looking for stuff. But you can search books a couple different ways. One of the ways that they just added, which I show here, is by doing a series search. So if, for example, you like the Outlander series, which is the Diane Gabaldon books, you can do a search for her, do the Outlander series, and then it'll pull it up, and BARD will give you an option to sign up for the series. So if you sign up for the series, what it will do is it will add all the books from the series to your wish list, and it will also add the book. If she writes a new one, it would add it to your wish list when she writes the new one. So this is especially nice if you have an author who's continuing to write books. This is basically what the magazine subscription does. It adds the magazines as they come out to your wish list. Now, when they're added to your wish list, they're not automatically downloaded, so you don't have a bunch of stuff on your phone that you don't want. You still have to download them, but it does make it much easier to find things. So it's kind of a cool option that they have there that you can add to. So this right here is that I have is a couple different screenshots of the BARD mobile app. And basically an easy way to break down the different pictures here are the 4 tabs that are at the bottom of the BARD app. So the 4 tabs are Bookshelf, Get Books, Settings, and Now Reading. The one on the far left is the Now Reading tab, and it is a picture of what appears to be the player. So when you're reading a book in BARD in the app, it basically looks like the player. You have the same navigation ability that you would have on the player. When you go to the Get Books tab, what's going to come up is the different ways you can search the material. So on this one, you have like wish list. You can search through books you've already selected. Recently added to BARD, which is cool because then you can see the newest stuff that the NLS has added. You can look at your previous downloads, most popular books, browse magazines, or you can just go onto the BARD website, which is the final option, and search authors, titles, whatever you would prefer to do. The BARD webpage is the final shot that I have there. Now, the one that's kind of in the middle is a list of the material that you have on there, which is your bookshelf. So right there, it says I have 3 audiobooks, and then divides it up: audiobooks, audio magazines, Braille books, Braille magazines. So that it basically divides it up by what you're reading, what you have on your phone, and then finding material. You can keep the material that you download from BARD basically for as long as you want. It's not going to be checked in or deleted from your phone after a certain amount of time. Like, it's not checked out for 2 months the same way an audio or Braille book is. However, if you want to delete it from your phone, if you have too many books on there, you can certainly do that too. You don't have to keep them indefinitely. Okay, so one thing that people often don't know that we provide access to is Overdrive. Overdrive is it's a digital distributor of ebooks and audiobooks, and it is available through most public libraries in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Talking Book and Braille Library also provides access to it. So if you have a book that we don't have, we are more than happy to look and see if it's provided on Overdrive. and then we can give you your card number, which we don't usually give people because you don't usually need it for anything, but we are more than happy to give it to you if you want to log into Overdrive and check out audiobooks from Overdrive. So you just ask us for it and we'll give you it. And then you would select the Talking Book and Braille library as the library that you're using to log in, and then use your barcode to log in. You can also use your local public library if you're a member of your local public library and to check out books. Now, the big thing to consider with Overdrive is that they do not have the same unlimited access that we do for BARD. So of course, their books generally have wait times on them and are usually only checked out for 1 to 3 weeks. That's not to say there's anything wrong with getting books from them, but they are, I guess they have limits on them that we don't have. And I'm always, of course, encouraging people to use our library instead of somebody else's database. So, but it is an option if you can't find books in ours. So Overdrive also has 2 apps that you can download. The older app is just called Overdrive. The newer one is called Libby. The older app is fairly accessible to screen readers. The newer one, Libby, is not. According to their most recent website posts, they are working on improving it. But as of right now, it's not that good. So if you are going to download books from Overdrive, I would recommend downloading their older app, the one that's just called Overdrive, as that one is more compatible with most screen readers. And then of course, there's, if yeah, if you're going to check out books from them, there's the other things to keep in mind too when you're doing that. So, but I think that is the main gist of what I wanted to talk about. So I can now open it up to questions.